get closer to 20, they'll like tell us to wrap it up. They're still moving. So.
They're like, please stop talking.
Yeah. Hello, Maya TV. It's Alihia. I'm your host as usual. Today I'm with Ebbony Duran.
Hello.
Hi. Who is an actress, and we're going to sort of talk about her career and the projects that she's been working on. So, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing swell, thank you.
Awesome.
How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk to you because we met briefly upstairs.
Yes.
And something really interesting that you told me is that a lot of people like to become actors when they're, younger, they're theater kids, but it came to you in your adult life, basically.
Yes, it did. I wish I was one of those that just knew from the get-go, like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do, this is what I love. That was not my case. Mm-hmm. Instead, I was more of like, I felt like I was picking a college career just because I had to do something, I had to get the money. Mm-hmm. And so the way it happened was I was working at a hotel, La Quinta, and I was the receptionist there. I hated my life. It was terrible. People are horrible to work with, and especially in a hotel. Didn't see that coming. I remember walking in that day and I just was like, oh my God, here's another day, and someone's already screaming at one of my coworkers, like screaming at the top of his lungs, and I was like, oh hell nah. I ended up just walking straight to the back, going to my manager and just being like, I quit. I'm sorry, but I quit. I had nothing lined up. I didn't know what I was gonna do. I barely had like $50 in my account, but I was like, it's fine. I have this $600 check. I'll be okay till whenever I figure it out. Mm. And so, of course, I was without a job, and I was like, okay, so what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? And it just so happened that my or boyfriend at the time was like, oh, have you ever heard of central casting? I've never heard of that before. And I was like, no, what's that? And so we went and I signed up, and that's when I got booked on background roles. Mm-hmm. And that was the first introduction to the industry. That was the first time I've ever been on set. That's the first time I've ever seen actors act. That's the first time I've ever done any of that. And first off, I was like an hour late, too. Mm-hmm. So I got screamed out by the person on the phone. And it was for the show You.
Oh, yeah.
So I saw Penn Bradley, and I was like, oh my God, this is what they do?
Yeah.
They get paid to do this?
Yeah.
And they feed you? Mm-hmm. And I just fell in love. That was the first time I ever actually fell in love with something, to know like what that felt like. And I bought every book at Barnes & Noble on acting. Mm-hmm. I read them all, and then I started going to class, and then that's how my story began.
Wow, that's so interesting. Yeah. So when you were growing up watching movies, it didn't like give you like, oh, I want to do this, or was it just its own separate thing? Like it never came across your mind?
It was never a thing. I was also really shy when I was a kid. Like, so the thought of me being in the limelight or on a stage, I was like, no thank you, no thank you very much. Mm-hmm. So it was very interesting that this was being called to me, because it was so out of my range. Mm-hmm. It was like so out of my comfort zone. Like, what are you talking about? Me on stage, me in front of a camera? Like, I don't even like myself in pictures. Mm-hmm. And then to go into this industry, it was insane. Really, it really was.
Yeah. You're also educated. You have a biology degree, which is really cool.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So did that help you, like, in any way, like, maybe like work ethic wise? Did it teach you anything? Have you played a doctor?
I have not played a doctor yet, but I kind of would love to do so, because when they talk about some medical terms, I'll be like, ooh, I actually know what that does.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I have not done that in any way. But I feel like any experience that you have definitely teaches you something one way or another. Yeah. I don't know exactly what biology was trying to teach me, but I hope I get to use it in my future roles.
Yeah. Along with that, I know you've like lived in different cities, and you've also like done a lot of different jobs. How did that inform maybe the characters that you could play? Do you think it expanded your knowledge of just the world?
I hope so. I really do. I have jumped from job to job, so I know what it's like to start new in something and also feel like really skittish or unsure of yourself. So I think I'm able to bring that into a lot of the roles, because I tend to play pretty dark and complicated characters. So I'm able to tap into my insecurities in a way that I feel like helps me bring them to life.
Yeah. Where do you think that confidence comes from? Because a lot of people have to go to school for theater and like, really try like their voice out with an audience and things like that. Like for you, did it just come through experience? Did it just come one day you're like, no, I can do this?
I think that's still growing. I for lack of a better word, a delusion.
Delulu?
Yeah, it's the Delulu.
Yeah.
It's the Delulu. Because it's either this or I don't know what else there is,
Yeah.
you know? So it's like at one point I had to accept it within myself. I'm like, all right, Ebbony, like, if this is what you're going to want to do, then you have to believe that you're able to do it. Because there's no one else that's going to believe it for you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's every day I have to remind myself that I'm like, hey, I chose this for a reason. I was given this dream for a reason.
Yeah.
Oh, let me just follow that. Let me see where that takes me. And I'm still in my 20s, so I can figure things out, you know, make mistakes, hopefully, and then figure it out later.
Yeah.
And what kind of story do I want to tell, you know? One that went after their dream or someone that, you know, was too scared to do it?
Exactly, yeah. And so do you have a favorite role that you've played so far?
Ooh, I think my last role is, the thing was called America's Next Top Immigrant. It was filmed as a mockumentary. And what it was, it's like a reality show of all these immigrants trying to get a visa. And it's like a really funny way of how they did it to show on how we treat our immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was my first like semi-comedy role, because like I said, I played really dark characters, so like stepping into that comedy was really different. And it was actually a lot more fun because I got to play a lot more instead of being in those dark, heavy roles, you know.
Yeah.
With that one, I was able to be silly or like try something new, which was a lot of fun.
You seem like a very happy person, so I hope there's comedy in your future too.
I hope so too.
Yeah. Okay, so is there like a dream collaborator or a dream role that you want to portray in the future?
I would love to be on any A24 film.
Mm-hmm.
Like any A24 film would be awesome because I just love how they're so out of the box, or also just so like some things that they show or portray. I'm like, oh my god, most people don't talk about that. Ooh, you crazy, and I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, so for being an actor, sometimes you have to memorize your lines really, really quickly. So what's your method?
You know, I don't have like one straight up method because I don't understand how my brain works sometimes. Because like sometimes like they just kind of click. But I think that's if I do all of the homework beforehand. You know, if I make the character, if I live in the character, if I know what the character wants, needs, and all that fun stuff, I feel like it's easy for my mind to just be like, okay, this is what they're gonna say. To make that like connection, be like, okay, of course, that makes sense why they would say that. So like, it's not me, like, if I'm having to sit there and be like, memorize a line like 5 times, I don't know my character well enough. That's the way I see it. So I don't know how to fully answer that, but that's how my mind works.
But that's how you do it. Okay, so what's a misconception about being an actor?
It's easy. It's playing pretend. It's not playing. Or actors are like, you're supposed to be a good liar. I'm a terrible liar.
Yeah.
I'm a terrible liar. And everyone's just like, oh, you're an actor. Shouldn't you be able to?
Yeah.
That's not what acting is.
Yeah.
It irks me.
Yeah. It's telling the truth, right?
It's living truthfully in imaginary circumstances.
Yeah.
Not lying.
Yeah.
If you're lying, then you know they're acting.
Yeah.
And that's not what you want. That's not who I want to be.
I know you're trained because that's a saying from one of the greats, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I know you're currently working on a project that you are writing. So what made you want to take this leap? I don't know if you can say a lot about it.
Well, I actually worked with this director before, and when I was making that movie, it's called Hewendo, he was like, oh, I have this horror film that I think you'd be really great at, and I want you to be on it. And I thought at that time he was like, oh, just talking up my ear, being sweet talking me. And I was like, okay, sure, that's never gonna happen, right? Yeah. Then he approaches me and then he's like, here's the script, do you want to read it? And I was like, oh, you weren't kidding. Oh, how lovely. Okay, yes. So I read it the first time, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I hated it. I hated it so much. And I told him, I was like, I'm sorry, honey, but like, what is this? What is this? What are you trying to tell me right now? And he was like, okay, really? So then he like actually took all my notes, and then he worked on it for like over a year, and he came back to me, and he just came back recently actually, and was like, here, like, tell me what you think about it now. And then now I was like, oh, okay,
yeah,
now we're on to something, and this got me excited, right? And he was like, oh, I took your note on this, I took your note on that, and if you're wanting to, like, please, like, add more notes. And I was like, really? Oh my god. So that's how I started actually getting involved in the writing process of it, because I was like, okay, so why does this happen? Why does this happen? And why do we need this? And he's just there like, oh, I didn't think about that. So like, it's been really interesting because I'm seeing it through, my character's name is Sophia, through Sophia's eyes, but also as the writer and like the visionary of like, wait, this is a whole story happening at the same time. So it's really fun to have, because I also have an English degree, to see like all of my worlds kind of like dance together.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, because you also, did you ever think about writing your own like play or your own script when you were having to study English?
No, when I was in school, I didn't think about acting or film or any of it. Like, I just was like, oh, I have to go to school, get a job, get a career, la la la. So when acting came into my life, it completely took me by surprise, and I was like, oh, okay. So now, of course, now I'm like, oh my god, I could have written about that. Oh, I should have written about that.
Yeah.
But now it's like finding the commitment to do it. Now that's something that I have to build on myself. Like, okay, you have to actually sit down and write it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Which is a whole struggle in itself, but like, one step at a time.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be really rewarding when you know your character more than the creator
yes,
does, right?
Yes. Oh, it's the best feeling.
Okay, so, all right, so I know you've done a lot of different, types of projects, but I also want to ask you, is there like a really challenging role that you got to do?
I think my first role ever in a feature film, which is with the director that I was talking about, would be my hardest, because that character, poor thing, went through so much traumatic experience. She was on drugs, she was being abused, she was like, it was intense, and then she had moments where she was in this drug haze where she was getting like, she was out of it, and in the movie there's like this whole like sequence, like that was one of the hardest roles I've ever had to do, and it was my first role.
Mm-hmm.
So like I was terrified coming to set, because I was like, what if I don't perform?
Mm-hmm.
What if it doesn't come out of me,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm there like a dead fish,
Yeah.
So that was actually one of the hardest things I've ever done, and I surprised to this day how I did it. I was like, I honestly don't know, with the more experience that I had, if I would do it any differently.
Mm-hmm.
I think it came out really well, and it's funny because I actually have a chipped tooth because of one of the scenes where my boyfriend, my abusing boyfriend, like puts like this alcohol in my mouth, and like it chipped, the bottle chipped my tooth.
Oh my goodness. You can't tell, like, by the way, but you know it's
but
there.
it's there.
Yeah.
It's there. And I was like, that was my first role, and I'm like, oh my, and I come out with a chipped tooth. Like,
Yeah.
it's funny to think about.
Yeah, you took the character with you.
I
for
really
sure.
did.
Yeah.
She's with me. She's
Yeah.
here.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So do you tend to work with like the same director a lot, or is it like usually a script that draws you to a project?
It's normally the script. His script really drew me to it. I don't know what it is with me and dark, crazy characters, because I like to be really happy, so I think it's just, it is the script that it comes to me. I really believe that my characters find me, and not the other way around.
Yeah. In terms of look, I know sometimes you play a character that dresses very casually and like maybe looks a lot like you. Have you ever done a role where you had to like wear prosthetics or completely change?
No, but I would love to. I would love to be like one of those like demons with the blackout eyes.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That gets me so excited.
Do you love Halloween?
I do.
I'm getting the feeling
Can you
that
get
you love. Yeah.
Yes, I do. I have multiple costumes every year, of course.
That's cool. Okay, so something very interesting too. So you've been doing this for 4 years, right?
Yes.
Okay, so for a lot of actors, it takes like 10 years to get a role. So what do you think was the key to success getting those like back-to-back jobs? Were you just applying in volume at the beginning? Do you feel like you just got lucky at the beginning? Or what do you think went on there?
I feel like for all the roles that I have booked, I've always got pushed to this place of where I got to the mindset of, I'm just gonna do it the way I feel like I'm gonna do it, and if they don't like it, great. And if they do like it, great. Because I think it's easy for us actors to get into this, like, what do they want? What are they looking for? Oh my God, like, I don't know how to interpret this. Like, just be your authentic self and watch what happens. And I still struggle with this, because I still get in that mindset, like, oh, what are they looking for? And then I have to be like, stop, Ebbony, stop.
Yeah.
Who are you in this role? There's only one of you. There's only one of you. There's only one of you. Who are you? So every time I went into an audition with that mindset of like, this is it. You like it or you don't. Those are the roles I've booked.
Yeah. Do you have an example of a creative choice you made, like that you just went like off script or something and they liked it?
Ooh, I don't know. It's very hard to say. Because like I said, I play really dark characters, so like I have like kind of like an explosion of emotion sometimes, and it can either come out like really angry or really, really sad. So I think it's just allowing the flow of the emotion, like letting it take you. And I've come out of auditions where I'm like, what was that?
Yeah.
You know? I'm like feeling weird about it, like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna tell anyone about that, you know? But like I said, those are the roles that I booked because I think because they saw what I was capable of, you know?
Yeah. So every person is different, every actor is different. So special skills, what do you have on there that, you know, would surprise people?
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay, tell me more.
I just trained in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. My boyfriend at the time, who's now my ex, was going as a professional Jiu-Jitsu fighter, and he needed people to practice with, and none of his family wanted to practice. So then, of course, there I am, and he was like, "You could practice with me," and I was like, "You're crazy." Did I do it? Of course I did. And did I actually enjoy it? Yeah. It's nice as a woman to be able to feel like you can protect yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I'm actually very happy he got me to do that.
Yeah. When did you start that? Was that like around the time you were becoming an actor?
That was actually in the beginning, so probably like the first 2 years.
Was it the same person that told you?
Yeah.
Shout out to Suno. Awesome special skill. Okay. That's really cool. Have you ever had to use it in a film?
I have not, but I really want to. Like,
yeah.
I want to be one of those badass fighters.
You can be an action star.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I want to do my own stunts, for sure.
I see you like as a Power Ranger. Like as a pink Power Ranger.
Oh my god, that's my favorite too, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so do you have any advice for any actors out there? Because you've picked up, you're so young, and your career is young time-wise, but you've done so much already. What advice do you have?
I think my greatest advice would be to find your authentic self and to live and breathe it, because I think these characters find us, and if you are being yourself and you are putting yourself out there and you're strong in your power, there's no way you won't be able to do it.
That's really, really good. I love that. Okay, so is there a skill that you want to get better at? Because I heard that you acquired something really cool lately. You know, do you remember what we were talking about?
No.
The piano.
Oh, the piano! I was like, dang, what did I?
Yeah. I was like, what are you
I was
working
like,
on right
blanked
now?
or blanked.
Yeah.
Well, I am definitely dipping my toes into music. What she was talking about is I acquired a free piano that is now just chilling in my house and is like screaming to me to learn how to play.
Grand piano, by the way.
Grand piano. Fully wood. She's beautiful. I have never touched a piano in my life. So here I am having to learn how to play piano because it was literally gifted to me by the universe. So most definitely I'm very excited to see where music takes me. Because I'm also playing the guitar as well, which I'm learning. I'm learning to play the guitar. So
That's awesome. Great. And another skill. Okay, so as an actor, you know, you have to do a lot of things to take care of yourself. What is something that you do to keep yourself sane among this Hollywood life?
I love walks. Like, I know it's very simple, but I enjoy like a sunny walk. There's a Starbucks like maybe a few blocks from me, and if I can, I will find a way to just walk myself to Starbucks. Right next to it's a Ralph's too. Sometimes I just go grab myself some flowers, come home, you know, like I just need to get out there and detach from reality, and just me walking is just such a nice meditation.
Oh, that's so sweet. Okay, that was like so lovely to talk to you. Thank you, Ebbony, for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, and lastly, can you plug your socials, or where can we find your work?
Oh yes. Well, my Instagram is Ebbony B. That's EBBONY. B like a buzzing bee. Yeah, follow me there, and everything, and anything is there.
Yeah, that's a really cool spelling, by the way. It's 2 B's, right?
Yeah, it's 2 B's. Don't forget it, or else it's not me.
Okay, well, I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And thank you to everyone who's been watching and following along. See you for the next one. Bye! Just doing this.
I'm a
You're an actor. Hold on.
I know. Jazz fingers, jazz fingers.
Yeah.